The only trouble with working from home, you get the lens steam up on you in the morning. Hey Woodlanders. This morning we're in Woodland Paradise here in South Derbyshire, and we this week are continuing on from last week where we were making hazel hurdles, and we still have this one to finish and one more to finish. Made a bit of a start already this morning. We're getting the dragon charcoal retort going. A little bit of sawdust, tiniest little bit of cardboard, and you may notice just in there a couple of pieces of charcoal which have caught. We've got the white embers going there. Smoking. And I've got some ash trees actually to chop down this week. There's a chap called Ian Varley. He's the rustic carpenter, and he wants some ash poles because he does these outdoor field shelters covered in like a canvas material. Ever so clever. So I've got to cut those down this week, ready for delivery on Saturday. So yeah, plenty to keep me going this week. Apparently YouTube's changed very slightly the last couple of days, where if you say like this video, apparently the like button down below kind of goes this fluorescent colour. So anyway, I'm going to say it quite a few times. I'm going to say like this video. If you could like the video, by liking the video, and the more likes we get, the more chance we have of the channel growing in the future. So if you can, like the video. That was mad, wasn't it? We're on our last panel. Just not quite managed to finish this one, but I've got to dash off and got cut somebody's stump off a tree, and it's just a little stump off, and I've got to do it before it goes dark because I've got to use my chainsaw. The charcoal retort, we've got one barrel out and we've got one in the oven that I thought might have started gassing by now, but it hasn't. So I'm going to have no choice but to shut that one down. Come back to that tomorrow possibly. So I'll see you tomorrow. This morning. We're on gate making this morning. I was going to go up the Woodlands and finish off that hazel hurdle, but I thought it might be better to get the gates made at home, and then when I take those up for being woven at the Woodland, I can finish off that panel then. So cool. So I need 6 uprights. We can cut all these to the same length. Got the mortise marks all laid out.
Bottom rail, that's the mid rail, and then there'll be a top rail.
Absolutely love this tool. Trouble with working from home, so when you go in for your dinner next to the log burning stove, you don't always want to come back out again. So we've now got the horizontal members, which have got to have their tenons on the end. Now for the moment of truth, we'll do a little dry fit. Like a glove. Now you might be able to work out why I did those offset tenons, because I wanted the gate to be flush at the bottom. Normally I do it inset, so I do about an inch, set up the bottom and top rails just to create like a more of a framed gate look, but I wanted this to be match the panels and to have the line of the gate at the same height as the panels. The tenon is about there somewhere. So the next job for this is I'll mark up all these joints with a pencil just so I know which one goes where, and then it'll be a case of cramping it up, drill some holes, drop some oak pegs in it, then do 2 more.
No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar, jamás no quería saber nada más, nunca más. Pero vos apareciste de repente y me hablaste con una voz tan dulce que perdí la razón y mi corazón. Ay, amor, no te preocupes, que yo siempre de quererte, de amarte y admirarte. Ay, amor, oh, oh, oh. No te preocupes, lo que siento yo por vos.
Leave those there for a sec. I'll get on with some ash poles. Today's Friday, 2nd of Feb, and I love February. I don't know why. A lot of what I used to do was maintenance work in gardens, so the growing season was one of the busiest times of the year. And I always appreciated February because you could get things done and cleared or pruned and trimmed, and it just felt like it was static for a while before the growing started. It's not really like that anymore. Now it's full on in the winter to try and get it before the growing season starts. Oh, just wasted about £8 worth of aspen, that has. It's good to see the woodlands dried up a little bit from all that rain we had. We have even more storm damage, and this must have been from, let me think, last weekend. So we've got a pine that's snapped off here, which often is due to these having multiple leaders, although this one wasn't. This was double leader. I can just show you that, look, snapped off, twin stemmed, and it snaps off there because it's so weak. And then we have another one that's snapped off. Oh, this was a few weeks ago. This one has twisted and snapped. Man, imagine that when it came down. I bet that created a bit of a crack. A third of this tree snapped off last year. So this was the bit that snapped off last year. Now this bit snapped off, and I think, in all honesty, we may as well have what's left of the last remaining limb off, because, well, that really isn't a timber tree, is it, that one? We're looking for some 8-foot long poles, reasonably straight, hopefully with very little in the way of ash dieback going on, and about 4 to 5 inch diameter. As is usually the case when you first start cutting into a pit that's never been thinned before, is you get them hung up, which is always a nightmare. We've got our 10 poles. We're going to get them at the top end. I might be able to get 2 on my trolley, I think. I'm going to try. 5 journeys later and we should have them all out. I'm glad those are up. You'd be surprised, I got 3 on each journey up on my little wheelbarrow. I've got some chestnut poles I've got to bring up, so I've brought a couple up just down there. I'm going to bring the rest of those up. That's for a job on Monday. We've only got about an hour left then.
Esto es lo mejor que he vivido. Por si no lo has comprendido, me quedo contigo.
You're not as old as me. You know me, love a time lapse. I'm like, how can I improve the quality of my time lapses? So there was me thinking, do I need ND filters for that cinematic effect? Just been looking at some footage from my wildlife camera. It was after a decent wildlife camera, and one of you guys suggested this one, which is a, can you read that? But there is a link in the description which is an affiliated link, which means for every one of those that you decide to click on and buy, I get like half a pence for it or something ridiculous. But I have to tell you that nowadays, I've been really impressed with it. The batteries last forever, kind of. And I just find it takes really good pictures, both daytime and nighttime, quite clear. Of course, it's no good when it rains because you get like a blurry image, and very occasionally you get the lens steam up on you in the morning, so you miss those few shots. One of the treats I think last year was capturing the foxes in their den, and this was where there was a rabbit warren years ago and it got flooded. One year we had so much rain all quick it flooded out, and that was the end of the rabbits. And last year I set up the wildlife camera round here, and oh, it was amazing. We've got these two baby foxes playing with each other. It was just amazing. I love that. So I want to try and capture them again. I'm going to set up the camera. The other thing I noticed with wildlife cameras is you don't really want to be pointing them in any sort of south direction, because when the sun shines in the lens you won't get nothing. So always keep it sort of facing northish and you'll have much better photography then. Like spring watch this, isn't it? I have it set to 10 seconds of video because I much prefer video than stills. I'm not tidying up this mess now, and I'll explain what I'm doing here in another video. Unless it's trees, I don't tend to pay attention to the much of the world around me. But I did notice the other day that it's a leap year, so that means we've got an extra day of productivity this year. What am I going to do with my extra day? What on earth are you going to do with your extra day of life this year? Let me know in the comments what you've got planned for February the 29th. As a child, I always wished I could have been born on February the 29th. I'd only be like 12 years old. That'd be awesome. I'm going to cut one of these in half, but I want to try and get my racking and staging up for my charcoal. Trying to get my money's worth out of the disc. Tell you what, this stuff's amazing. It's so strong. One subtle modification where one of these corners was bent and it was holding me up. But other than that, it's amazing stuff. So I put a couple of pallets on the floor. I can reuse that one. 4x2s across with a couple of noggins to stop it from sliding out, and then I can put those plywood sheets on top. So there you go, this is our charcoal rack. So there'll be bags on the top, bags on the middle row, bags on the bottom row. But I'm really impressed with that. That's just a temporary thing. It's going dark. I'll see you next week. Hey up. Cheeky little garden job this morning. So, done that. And I've just got to finish this hurdle off, and once I've done this, which shouldn't take me too long, I can start on those gates just there. Then I've got 2 to do that is part of this order, and the other one is a separate gate for my sister. I'm experimenting today with no tripod, so I don't know if you see that. Can you see that? Let's get some daylight. But I've got this magnet. I've been using this magnet for ages, couple of years. It works brilliantly, and normally there is a tripod that kind of goes on the bottom of that, and I use the magnet slightly different to this. I'm trying to lower my profile, if I suppose. So I've ordered a new one off Amazon because the flexi tripod that I normally use, one of the legs is almost snapped off now. So I'm just trying to get used to this whole magnet thing at the moment, and it's clever because I can just swivel it. So spin, swivel, oops a daisy, but I just have to tighten that up again. Which is great if I've got a metal surface, but if I haven't, I have another cunning plan, and I might make another video about that. But it's not really about Woodlands, is it, cameras? Number 6. Why make these things so heavy? This is the same as the panels really, in that we'll put the zails in, so we've got 4 zails to go in this one, so that'll make life easier with the weaving, because between you and me I did struggle with that 5 zail weave. So hit my shoulder. Not doing very well physically just lately. Not quite finished this one. I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. It's a bit windy this morning. We'll get this gate finished. I know you've seen the others, but here's gate number 3. They've got to go back home to the workshop, and I've got to put the braces on. This one's been giving me some significant problems. That one didn't gas particularly well, and this one has been doing that all afternoon. That choked me out. It's horrible. Fitting these braces, and I'm not getting on very well with it. This is more of a belts and braces approach, because the strength of these mid rails and top rails ought to be enough to stop it from sagging. All loaded up and off to Melbourne next. It's not Melbourne, Australia, by the way. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? we have had a ridiculous amount of rain. We've got puddles again up the woodland. We've also got midges right in the eyes. So look, we're underwater again. I can't bring my truck down. 38mm. Oh, these midges. 38mm of rain in just over 24 hours, which is, according to records, about a month's worth of rain in just over a day. It was all lovely and dry. Anyway, little moan over. I've got to get some firewood in. That's my first little job, just for home, ready for the weekend. And then I've got to get some bean poles ready for an order. When it's Friday and it's raining, you just think, I've had enough now. Bear with me while I get the firewood, and then we'll get the bean poles done. I'm up against the clock now with the coppice. Those Hazel hurdles took me about 3 days longer than I was anticipating, so I've got to get back into Jeff's coppice at Rosseston ASAP. I've got one little quadrant I've got to cut, and this particular piece, which I'll show you next week, hasn't been cut before. It's what we call maiden cut in the business, which means it's never had its first cut. But as you'll see next week, the coppice itself is another coppicing term called overstood, or it's not actually overstood, because overstood means it's been cut before and it's got too big, but this has never been cut before. But it's sort of in that overstood state where it's all firewood, that's all it'll be. So I'm not going to worry too much about product. It'll be cut the firewood out, get that sold, because that's my first sort of turnover cash. And then there might be some bean poles in it, and there might be a few weaving rods in it, but other than that, I'm not going to cut the stakes, because I've still got 350 hedging stakes that I've not sold yet. This guy said he wanted them, a friend of mine, and he's had to cancel his job because of the wet, and he can't get in the fields to do the hedge laying. Which now means I've got 350 hedging stakes. We're almost in the middle of February, and hedge layers will only be hedge laying for about another 6 weeks. So that means I've got very little window to try and sell these hedging stakes. And 350 hedge stakes owe me about £350, and that for me is an awful lot of money. I've been doing some editing the last couple of days. Boy, I do some waffling. I can't shut myself up. Anyway, Woodshaw. The Woodshaw programme is ticking away in the background. I've heard from the National Forest. Then once the Woodshaw people are happy, then the National Forest have to kind of run you through what they want from it, because if you're subscribing to their scheme, then they kind of monitor it. I've got plans to build a proper timber store, log store up here, which will be far better than these cages I've got going, and they're alright for getting things dry quick. They're brilliant for that. That's these wire cages I've got. But because I'm going to sell it, I need to be able to dry a lot more firewood, and so I've got an idea in mind, which is part of that orange racking that we've cut up last week. So thanks for watching this week. If you're able to, do what you can to enjoy some woodland goodness, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey up. Poor eye contact. Hey up. I'll do it again. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not making eye contact, that's what I'm not doing.